Welcome to Women Inspired. I'm your host, Linda Ugolo, and today we're going to take an inside look on how entrepreneurs, change makers, artists, and healers take their dreams and put them into action. My guest is Deanna Coyle.
Yes.
Coyle.
Deanna Coyle.
Yes. And you have a business where you redefine divorce.
Yes.
I think that is fabulous because divorce is one of those things that is more of a serious or a somber state of affairs.
Absolutely.
And redefining divorce has this air of hopefulness to it.
Right. Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your business. What is it called?
Yes. So the name of our business is Vesta Redefine and Reboot. And what we are doing is redefining divorce. And what that means is that people can take that challenging situation of what they're going through, where they may see no hope and have no idea what resources are available to them, and be able to come to events and have access to resources, social as well as educational resources with trusted professionals, where they can be educated, supported, and connected, where they do not feel alone and isolated anymore, and they have the guidance to get through the process and actually turn it into an opportunity to create a whole new future for themselves.
That sounds amazing. I mean, do you have to go through a divorce to have that kind of support?
Right. Well, unfortunately, we have like about half of the population who goes through it, and we have these amazing statistics that like second marriages, it's in the 70s, and and so on.
Well, what are the statistics for divorce?
Well, it's essentially about half of all marriages end in divorce. Second marriages, I'm forgetting the exact statistics, but it's about 70%, and then it's even higher for third marriages. So my message is that everyone is affected by divorce pretty much in some way, whether they have a coworker going through divorce, whether they're a child of divorce, whether they're going through divorce themselves, or a neighbor or a family member. So we would like to have these resources available, and we know that everyone knows somebody who can benefit from them. But our message also, my personal message, is that you can take whatever challenging opportunity, it's not an opportunity, well, it is an opportunity, you can create it into an opportunity, but you can take a challenging situation, whether it's the loss of a loved one through divorce, or through separation, or through death, or a job loss, whatever the challenge is that you're facing, to just empower yourself and to not be afraid to ask for help, and to really educate yourself so that you can go through it wisely and actually then turn it into an opportunity that you would not have had access to without having gone through that challenge.
Wow. So you say professionals. What kind of professionals are involved in your events?
Yes, so I started doing these divorce events about 3 years ago, and through the years have really gathered an amazing group of professionals, and they're all personal friends of mine. They go through a vetting process. We look for people who are not only experienced in what they do, but really have that caring side to them. And when our attendees and people that I connect to the professionals, when they speak with them, they tell me they can tell that they care. They can see it in their eyes. And the professionals cover all areas, anything that somebody could need, whether it's considering divorce, actually going through the process, or it could be 5 to 10 years afterwards. So of course legal, divorce attorneys, estate planning attorneys, financial professionals, I mean, those all are key pretty much any stage of the process.
Right.
But we also go into personal and family matters. So we connect people with, and we also have events that educate people in nutrition and fitness and parenting, fashion styling, just any stage of what somebody's going through where they could use guidance to really move forward to create the life that they really want for themselves and for their children.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting that you have all of these other support services, because I would think that when you go through this kind of situation, that your ego takes a big blow. Your sense of self-worth takes a big blow.
Absolutely.
And so everything is a little harder. You just don't have the same kind of self-esteem.
really, really, that's really hitting the point, you know, right on the head that when you're going through something like that, one of the main things is generally the person that you have been closest to and have trusted the most, all of a sudden is your adversary. And so not only is that person, the person that you knew essentially not there for you, but you're still dealing with this other person in this adversarial situation, and your trust is gone. So how are people going to come to an event or be connected with a divorce attorney or be connected with someone and really trust that that person has their best interests at heart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What a service. So your life must have been touched by divorce.
It was so touched by divorce. And that is really what led me to create these programs. So I'm divorced myself. And my parents, both of my parents were divorced. And
You mean more than just to each other?
my parents were divorced from each other, and their parents were divorced. So my grandparents were divorced. My parents, me, I saw it as a continuing pattern that you carry on, kind of what you learn. And when you struggle through it and you don't have the resources available to you, you do things that aren't in the best interest of your children, of yourself. People, when they're going through it, they don't know where to turn. They have not experienced something like that. And also when your emotions are all over the map, which it is daily, that's when your common sense is low. And so people make these decisions in the heat of the moment, or just trying to get through it as quickly as they can or as best they can without really educating and empowering themselves. And they make decisions that last not only the rest of their life, but can go on through generations.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have a big vested interest in it. And all the professionals that are a part of our group have the same passion. They all have a personal experience that causes them to give of themselves and their time to make a difference. So most of them have either gone through divorce themselves or a child of divorce, or in my case, even, you know, both situations. But everyone's been affected.
So you said a word in just now, vested interest. And then I'm thinking about the name of your company, Vesta. How did you come to that?
That's amazing, because I do see that tie there, and that's not actually how we came up with the name. So Vesta means, it's in growth. In Roman mythology, it means keeper of family, hearth, and home. Oh. And that is essentially what we do. And it also means, not to get into like specifics, but just quickly, it is this also the name of the second largest asteroid in the solar system. And it means bringing someone's true essence and their full potential into being. And that's what we do.
That's beautiful.
But yes, in being invested, like we're invested in them, they're invested in their own future. That's great. That gives me another.
Well, I feel inspired.
Thank you.
That's great. So, okay, I want to like unpack this a little bit.
Yes.
So, you have your own story of divorce. I'm presuming that it was through that experience that you created this work.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you just kind of briefly paint that picture for us of how one led to the next?
Absolutely, yes. And, you know, at all our events, we hand out pamphlets that have flyers for upcoming events, and it has useful information in there. And it also has my own story, and I've also posted it as a blog on Huffington Post. And it's called Transforming Divorce, Memoir of a People-Pleasing Divorcee. So I really believe in just laying bare what you've gone through so that other people can relate to you and like, wow, this person has been through what I'm going through, and look at where they are now. So my own experience of going through it, I had given up a career that I'd worked forever to attain. I was a securities analyst working on Wall Street, making money I never dreamed of making. And ended up meeting my husband, now ex-husband, on Wall Street. And once we started having a family, really seeing how tough it was to try to do everything. So I gave up my career, as a lot of people do, whether it's the husband or the wife, or, you know, a same-sex marriage, you know, wife or wife, husband or husband. And I gave that up to focus on the kids and on the home, and my ex focused on his career. And we were able then to really live what looked like the perfect life. And I hadn't any thought to what am I going to do later, because I was in a career that once I was out of it for a few years, it was just not going to be available to me anymore. But in my mind, because I had kids later in life, that was going to be my life, a stay-at-home mom with a happy family. And that's not how it turned out. When my kids were 4 and 6, my ex and I ended up separating, and everything that we knew, you know, everything that we had planned for, this house, you know, with equity, with this retirement accounts, savings for the kids' college, everything that we had planned was just out the window. And then you're going through the turmoil, the heartache, and you're worried about your children. And then you have all the people around you who have your best interests at heart, or it might be their own interests, that are giving you advice, and you have no idea where to turn. So I took my own situation of going through it and wondering, how would I ever make a living? How would I be a good role model for my kids? How would I ever have a social life again? How would I have a life? I took that, and through my own challenges, and it was a struggle of going through that, realized it didn't have to be that way. It's not going to be easy, but there are ways to really educate and empower people so that they can have a smoother path and they can have a more definite future.
So what was the point, or were a few of the points of when you say, oh, if there was this kind of environment, it would make it easier? Like where did you make that?
You know, it's interesting.
Where did the idea for the business come?
It's interesting because life just took me on that path. I can look back now and think, wow, I wish I had back then what I'm creating. And so many people, the professionals involved and the attendees, everyone, whatever stage they're in, there's so many people who come to our events who are years past divorce. And they want to give back, and they also want a social, and the guidance that they can get from our events and from the resources. But everyone says, I wish I had that when I was going through it. People whose parents got divorced when they were young say, I wish my mother had that. I wish my father had that. So what happened with me is I kind of just stumbled upon it. I took the only avenue that was really available to me. It was going into a financial planning position because I couldn't go back into what I used to do. And I was looking at entry-level positions of what I used to do, to be a financial analyst. And they wouldn't even send me, the recruiters wouldn't send me on the interviews because I was overqualified.
Oh my God.
I had no idea what I was going to do. So I went into financial planning, and it didn't mesh with me. I struggled for years, and then there was just the people that I met. They're like, you know, build a niche for yourself. Why not like work with people who are going through divorce and who are divorced? And so that's what I did, and I started forming these programs. I wrote a PowerPoint presentation, and it addressed not only the financial issues, but legal and personal and family issues that people face. And I started gathering a network of professionals. I started having networking events once a month, and really getting to know the people and who they were. And my litmus test was somebody that I could tell was a good person, and I would want to sit down and either have, you know, coffee or lunch or a drink with this person.
So what would you do? Just kind of like send out an email to people saying, hey, I'm having this event. I'd love to have you over. Like for someone who has an experience in life and they think, oh my gosh, I'd love to create an environment that would help people deal with whatever I'm going through, whether it's, you know, divorce or something else. It could be recovering from an illness, or it could be losing, you know, someone through death. And they think, oh, you know, a lot of people might not realize that they could actually create a business helping people by doing what you do. So I'm wondering, how would one go about
So
Right.
what I would recommend is just really being out there with your story and meeting as many people as possible and talking with people, because everyone knows someone who's going to be like a benefit to you, and you can be a benefit to them as well. You can gain so much pleasure from helping others, and you also have to be open to receiving help. So, for example, we met at a networking lunch, and I had no idea what to expect from the lunch, and actually it was a cold day in December, and I didn't feel like going, and I had told another friend that I was going to meet her there, and so I went, and look at the course of now I'm here talking to you.
And now we're having this wonderful chat.
So
yes.
it's really just being open to opportunities and being creative and looking at, where's the opportunity? What do I really enjoy doing? What is there a need for? And what am I good at and can make money at? Maybe not even right away, but in the future, to have something that meets all of those criteria.
So for you, the way you monetize in your business is by having events. Like, what kind of events do you have? You mentioned...
Well, most of our events are free of charge. And right
Okay.
now I'm still in startup mode. So I've taken, a step back in my lifestyle, but my life is actually more happy and empowered than ever. I don't have, the type of lifestyle that I had when I was married. And again, I'm much happier, but I do have a plan for the future for actually really being able to have the resources to have the retirement that I want, to really provide the life that I want for my children. So it's really, just having a plan in mind. And so our events are mainly complimentary or free. We do have some events where we have a charge really just to cover expenses. And the main event that I can think of is our overnight divorce retreats. We started having them last year, and we just had our 5th last month. We have our next one on March 18th and 19th. And we charge an amount that just covers the cost of the overnight accommodations, the home-cooked meals that they have while they're there. And we have exercise classes, and we have a social on Saturday night. And then we have a lot of discussion groups, and the professionals all donate their time. So
Wow.
that's how we're able to keep the costs low.
Wow.
So right now I'm not in a position where I'm really monetizing what I'm doing, but there's a plan for the future, which is going to be rolled out soon.
That's great. So it sounds like you've created an incredible foundation for the business.
Yes.
And sounds incredibly fulfilling. So where are you, like, in the divorce stage, with your family and yourself? Like, where have you landed at the moment?
Yeah, so it was 8.5 years ago that my ex and I separated, and it took us 3 years to get divorced. And it was a long, painful, emotionally draining, incredibly financially draining process, and didn't have to be that way. And after that, once we settled, came to an agreement, and we're no longer adversaries, in court and having attorneys represent us, we were able to really join together and co-parent our children. And then a few years into it, we had another situation where we ended up back in court, and that brought us back to that place. And that was just last year. And now we're in a good spot again, because I was able to actually just, what are the steps to do, and where can I really be, look at things from his side, and look at what's the overall good, like what's going to be in our children's best interest, instead of being just focused on my own thoughts and emotions of going through it. So now I'm in an amazing place, and still utilizing the resources of all the professionals, like the nutritionists. Like, that's something that someone can use at any point in their time. A parent coach, whether you're getting divorced or whether you're already divorced, whatever stage, there's going to be, challenges. And how do I really talk to my children and really, see things from their point of view and really empower them, as opposed to just, being the finger that shakes at them and tells them what to do. Fitness, that's something that is always important. And finances, of course. So whether you're going through divorce, and how do I look at dividing my assets, and what are the implications, and how am I going to have the future that I want, to afterwards, how am I going to start rebuilding? what's the plan I'm going to put in place?
Mm-hmm.
I utilize the resources of all the professionals.
Mm-hmm. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So you've been able to benefit from what you've created.
Absolutely.
For other people, you're benefiting yourself. And it
Yes.
sounds like that, hard as it must be to have another confrontation with an ex-spouse, that by going through that and coming out the other side, you have even more resources to help people with.
Right,
because you are in
absolutely.
your own process with it,
Yeah.
and coming up with your own creative solutions to them.
Yeah, that's really true. That I went through it, and and then it's not just smooth sailing afterwards, and life just isn't that way.
Yes.
The thing is, what I learned and that made me stronger going through the whole process is now I know there's going to be challenges that come up all the time. But instead of, just pretending it's not happening or just making rash decisions, I look at the situation, I talk to people, I get support, and I approach it step by step.
And it sounds like when you know you have that kind of resource and community around you,
Yes.
when a challenge comes up, you don't feel like, oh my God, this is overwhelming, or I don't know how to deal with this, or that you have a big fear response.
Right.
You
right.
can trust that, okay, I don't know how to deal with this, but I know people who can give me some advice that I can then, think about and decide what's the best thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And just knowing from own experience that the way I look at this, I can look at it as, something that's devastating that I'll never recover from, or I can look at it as it's going to be challenging, but I know I can get through it and the future will be even brighter.
Mm-hmm. So these are like skills for life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it's totally changed who I am and how I'm able to be out there in the world, helping other people instead of being focused on my inner thoughts and what's comfortable for me.
Yeah, yeah. So as you've been building up your business, how many people are involved in it?
Right now we probably have about 12 professionals that are a part of our group, and as we grow and what our vision is to expand across the country and to show other areas how to have these types of retreats, because there's a lot of divorce resources out there, but nobody that we've seen does just what we do.
That's a great
encompassing
vision.
everything. So we have about 12 professionals. We cover all different categories, and as we grow, we'll be looking for additional professionals who really share our vision, and we have a vetting process for them to really make sure they're the right fit, that it's the right fit for them, and that they're the right fit for us, and especially for the people that are going through divorce or divorced.
Right, right. So as you've been building this up, what's a challenge, or what are some of the challenges that come up for you, just as building a company?
Yeah, there's so many challenges, and it's not that, I can think of like one just main challenge. I think there's challenges that happen every day, and you never know what's going to happen, and you don't have the security, of a desk job and a steady paycheck. But what you have is your vision and what you're committed to, and knowing that you can work through whatever challenge there is, and there is a solution, and you may try something and it doesn't work, but that just means that way didn't work, and now I know that way doesn't work, so now, I have, fewer things to try, and I'll eventually find the one that works.
Mm-hmm. That's a
Right?
great attitude, yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of attitudes,
Oh,
I
yes.
have a box here
Oh,
with
awesome.
different cards in it, and I'd love for
Okay.
you to pick one out and see what it brings up to you
Okay.
in your business or your life, and just kind of like you can riff on it for a couple of minutes.
Cool. Well, this
Yeah.
is very exciting,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to peek. Let's see. Compassion. I love that. And actually, I was just listening to a Brene Brown audio tape where she talks about compassion, and it's so important in life, in your personal life, but also in what you're up to out in the world and what you're building, to really have compassion for others. And it's not looking at things from your viewpoint of what they're going through, but really getting over there with them and experiencing what it is for them in their shoes. And I think this, if everybody employed this, the world would be a different place. And if people employed it in divorce, you can have compassion for your spouse, your ex-spouse. You may not like some of the things they do or what they did. You may not forget it, but you can forgive. And that's actually giving compassion to yourself, because that's going to allow you to move on. And it's also going to benefit your children. So compassion is just really being mindful of others, what they're going through, knowing that there's a different viewpoint from your own and that both are equally valid, to not lose sight of compassion for yourself as well, because that's incredibly important. But I love that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that was a perfect one.
Wonderful. So how can people find you if they want to come to one of your retreats, or they have a friend who they think would love to? How do they get in touch with you?
Yes, so our website is Join Vesta, so that's Join, V as in Victor, ESTA.com. And if they scroll down to the bottom, there's contact information. It's actually my personal cell number and my email address. And I have people calling me, texting me, emailing me all the time. Some people, and I'm lucky enough that people are able to find me now even by Googling, because there's nothing that I love more than being able to talk with someone who I've never met, but being able to relate to what they're going through and having them realize they're not alone and someone cares. There's also a form where they can fill something out, and they could say, this is an area that I would like support in, and they could submit it.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, and also the same website, if they go to the events tab, there's a calendar, and then they can click on any event, and it will bring up the description of the event and actually a link for them to right there register for the event.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, I want to make it as easy as possible for people.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was a great conversation with you. I loved, hearing all the inspiring things you're doing to help make people's lives better.
It's a wonderful thing to be able to do. Thank you.
So thanks for coming to the show today, and I will see you in the next episode. Oh, 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 oh.